When one starts searching for a Filipina, there are a multitude of mistakes one can make if not careful. But there is one mistake I see some foreign guys make at the very start that will most likely lead to the downfall of the relationship and possibly for him being greatly out of pocket. In this video, I'm going to explore what I believe could very well be your biggest mistake when searching for a Filipina. So be sure to buckle up and stay with me here. Just quickly, if you're looking to date a Filipina and don't know where to start, then why not check out my affiliate link in the pinned comment and description to the Philippines' #1 dating site, where it's free to create an account and view tens of thousands of beautiful Filipina profiles right now. We know online dating sites are an absolute smorgasbord for us foreign men where finding a Filipina is concerned. We certainly get very spoiled by the choices we may have, and sometimes they can make us feel like we're some sort of king or living out some sort of fantasy. Many guys may have always dreamt about what it would be like to be in a relationship with a much younger, vibrant, energetic and very beautiful woman. But the harsh reality for many foreign guys as we get older is that this will never happen, and it will always remain a dream or a fantasy. That is, until we discover the Philippines, and more specifically, a Filipina. To many guys, when they realise that some Filipinas are very open to dating a guy who is much older, who may be fat, ugly, or has a disability of some kind, they feel that they've been transported to a place where he can fulfill his fantasy of being with a young, beautiful woman. In turn, this of course makes him feel young again and good about himself as he walks around with this beautiful woman on his arm. For many of these older men, they're not interested in having a loving relationship. After all, they've been there and done that before, and they're under no illusion that the woman he's with doesn't love him and is with him for what he has rather than for who he is as a person. But these guys are fine with that because they get to live out their fantasies and dreams that previously they never thought was possible. Their main criteria is not what qualities, traits or commonalities the woman may have that may be compatible with him for an ongoing relationship, but more so the only criteria he's interested in is that she's super attractive. He couldn't care less if she can't hold any sort of conversation or if she isn't all that bright. As long as she strokes his ego, then he will be fine. And she will also get what she wants from the so-called relationship. Whilst of course searching for a woman of any nationality based solely on one criteria, and that is looks, is playing with fire and a sure way to lose the relationship and most likely money in the end. But for these guys, they really don't seem to care. Perhaps they're at the stage of life where they don't think they've got much more life in front of them, so they throw all caution to the wind and only seek to live out a fantasy they may have had for many years before their time is up on this planet. Look, who really knows what goes through their minds? And who's to judge if it's right or wrong? After all, they're two consenting adults who are both getting what they want and no one's being hurt by this so-called relationship. And let's be honest here. Many Filipinas are extremely beautiful, and most red-blooded men would absolutely love to have the opportunity to be with such a woman, especially as we grow older. So I often wonder if this is a man's last act of defiance to the world, so to speak, before he finally departs. Is he in it to totally live out all his dreams and fantasies? Or is he rebounding from a broken relationship and feels he has something to prove to himself or to his ex perhaps? After all, There's no better way to stick it to the ex than being with a much younger, beautiful woman. So these guys, whilst having fun and games with the Filipina and having the time of their life, must realise at some point it all has to end. How long will the Filipina hang around if she doesn't have to? And how long does a fantasy remain a fantasy? Once you live it out, you usually find that it's not as exciting as it once seemed to be. It can get all rather old quite quickly for both the man and the Filipina. One may think that the Filipina will stay with him until he dies, and perhaps she will, especially if there's plenty of money to be gained as his wife. Or perhaps she'll get tired of the whole situation and find a much younger man and move on. I often hear stories of Filipinas running off in foreign countries with a much younger man, and of course, yes, this happens. But many of these I feel are around the scenario that I've outlined here, where the man only has one criteria, that the Filipina be exceptionally beautiful. And the Filipina wants a man who can ensure her a very good lifestyle. And then, when the Filipina runs off to be with someone else, the man seems, or at least acts, somewhat surprised. The point one must remember here is that this was never a real relationship in the eyes of the man or the Filipina. This was more a business transaction because no real love was ever involved from either person. Sure, they may sleep together and get their freak on, much in the same way as a hooker may do with a client. But the difference is, this just becomes a longer proposition in that sense. Now, I'm not saying that every single older foreigner who's in a relationship with a much younger Filipina fits this bill. But if he went into the relationship with looks as being his main criteria and nothing else, then he needs to own the fact that he was rather shallow, or he was looking to feed his own ego in some way, and not to put all the blame on the Filipina when she finally rolls out of his life and moves on to greener pastures. If a guy really wants a serious, loving, long-term relationship, then that's a different matter altogether. Whilst looks certainly play a part for all of us when we're searching for a partner, it's certainly not the only consideration, or at least it shouldn't be if one wants success. You can be sure that there does need to be a certain amount of physical attraction, but don't get hung up on that idea, because the most compatible partner for you to create a happy and successful long-term relationship together with may not necessarily be Miss Philippines. And by searching only for super beautiful Filipinas, you could be missing someone very special that can offer you a lifetime of happiness. Be very sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.